What if everything you believe was only half the truth? Like, what if the other side of the argument, the one that you kind of mock or you kind of fear or maybe you ignore, held something that could completely change your perspective or even your life? I've learned this the hard way. I've done this many, many times, and I didn't learn it in a classroom. I didn't learn it online, but one of the ways I learned was 6,000 miles from home in a country where my beliefs didn't match the culture, and the culture didn't care what I believed. And that's one of the reasons that traveling is so amazing. So today, I would like to dive into a very hot topic, and one that I think people are kind of scared to talk about. I won't just share my opinions. I want to kind of research both sides and see what each side believes. And then I'm going to tell you guys what I found, because there's always two sides to a story. There's always at least two ways to look at things. And trust me, it connects deeply to travel and to mindset and to what kind of human being you become when you leave your hometown bubble. And are you brave enough to stick around until the end? Because you might walk away seeing the world and yourself quite differently. And for some people, that is a terrifying thought. So if you're not brave enough for it, don't even bother watching the rest of the video, or maybe you should. Before I get into it, guys, hit that like and subscribe button, because liking and subscribing is the best way to support what I do and the videos I make, and it ensures that I can continue to make videos like this for you guys every Monday through Friday. And let's try to get a push up to 1K followers. All right, let's look at the moment when I realized I was wrong. Let me take you back to my first few weeks living abroad here in the Philippines. I come from a Western world where people are a lot more independent and they're individualistic and they're loud and proud over their nation. But the culture I walked into is very different. It's very Catholic and collectivist. People were still loud, but they were a lot more humble and they had a lot more respect for authority. Living in the USA, I was typically a lot more libertarian than many of my friends. And here, it's not like that. I don't meet many libertarians. I was used to debates. I used to listen to them all the time. I like to challenge the rules. I'm that kind of guy. I don't just sit back and take everything for face value. I really try to challenge the rules and ask why. Why do we think like this? Which is interesting, because I've talked to my fiance. I ask her a lot, why do Filipinos do this? Why do Filipinos think like this? What makes you all believe this way or do these things? And her response is usually just something like, that's just how we do it. She's never really questioned it. She's never really tried to dive deep into why Filipinos do what they do. I'm completely opposite of that. Here in the Philippines, people, they like to listen. Me, I like to challenge. Here in the Philippines, they like to follow traditions. And of course, at first, I thought I was right. And that's normal. You're going to think you're right. You're going to think what you're doing is the right way because that's what you're used to doing. I do follow traditions. I am a Catholic. I follow the Catholic tradition. But other than being Catholic, and other than when I was in the military, I did not follow traditions. It was very spontaneous. I did things the way that I wanted to do them. And it's quite different here. All that changed when I've said something that offended someone, and I didn't even know it. I've made a joke, because I'm a big free speech advocate. I love free speech. And I made a joke here to my fiance that really offended her. That's when I started to realize that maybe I should try to change the way I view the world, because she didn't really quite confront me. She kind of distanced herself a little bit. It hit me like a truck because she was hurt. So she was just sitting in silence. And the joke wasn't even about her. The joke was about a culture. I joke about cultures. I joke about religions. I joke about anything that I find would probably be offensive. That's just what I do. But it really, really hurt her. And I realized then that I'd walked into someone else's reality and I was armed with just my own assumptions. I assumed that it would be okay to make the joke, but it wasn't okay, which was strange because a lot of the Filipinos that I've talked to, I thought a lot of them were okay with kind of the edgy jokes. And that's when I started doing something that kind of changed the way that I travel, research, and even talk to people online. I stopped assuming that I knew everything, and I started researching both sides. Not to prove someone wrong, but to finally understand them. I made a video about this actually, about how being curious and traveling is important. And I talked about curiosity opens up empathy because you are curious about other people. You're curious about why they think the way they do. And that's very important because it does build empathy and it makes you a better person and it makes you understand the world around you better than what you already understand it. So that's also why I'm Catholic, by the way. I'm Catholic because I done a lot of research. I've not always been Catholic. I did not grow up Catholic. It wasn't until I became an adult that I converted to Catholicism, but it's because I researched both sides. I actually put myself in the situation where I was in a university that was a Baptist, very anti-Catholic university. A lot of the students were anti-Catholic. I went to that university solely because of that reason, so it would challenge my beliefs. And that's something that I find is extremely important to do. So today, I'd like to bring up a controversial topic and get you guys thinking differently than what you already do. It's not going to be terribly controversial, not yet. I might do that in a later video. I might go into like politics or religion. I will definitely go into religion, that's for sure. Politics, I'm still a little iffy on just because I know how politics are. I know how bad things can get with politics. So what's the controversial topic that I want to talk about today? Now, I'm not a female. I don't identify as a woman, okay? So don't take this controversial topic the wrong way. I want to talk about solo female travel, if it is too dangerous or if it's okay. Yeah, I'm going to go there. I know, I'm a guy. What right do I have? But I'm also a human being, and I care about people, and I care about women. I care about my fiance. I care about her family, the females in her family. I care about my mom and my sister. So it's an important topic. It's something that needs to be discussed, especially if you want to travel. So yeah, we're going to go there because there's one side that says you've got to be a fearless woman traveling the globe, preaching empowerment and independence and self-discovery. But then there's the other side where people are warning about safety and being vulnerable and the real dangers of other countries, because it's great to be able to go and be empowered and to have all this independence and this self-discovery. It's wonderful. But then you have to also take into the fact that there are dangerous places. There are places that don't follow the same rules as whatever country you're from. And there are a lot of bad people in the world. I've seen heated comment wars about this on Twitter and on TikTok. I've seen people argue about it. My fiance's mom would argue with my fiance about traveling alone, that she didn't want her to travel alone, that she's glad that I'm with her now. And if we're going to travel, we can travel together. I've seen stuff like that. So I decided, instead of picking a side, I want to do something a little rare online, and I'm going to research both sides. Then we can look through both perspectives, just like I would through two different countries, just like I did with my religious beliefs. Side one, the pro solo female travel. These are the people that are saying that, yeah, it's okay for women to travel on their own. Let them go, let them be empowered, let them find themselves. So let's start with this side that champions these solo female travelers. And here's what I found, the arguments for it. The biggest one is obviously empowerment. Many women say traveling solo gave them confidence that they never had before. They've made decisions and solved problems and proved to themselves they didn't need anyone to feel whole. I love that. I do. I think that that's a beautiful way that a woman can show who she really is. She can be who she wants to be without being tied down with a man, or even if it's a friend. If she's just going on her own, that empowerment she can get from going to those different countries is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. I can completely understand this. And that's usually the number one pro side argument that people come up with. The number two is the one that I personally feel like is the most important, and it's probably because I am an American. There's also the sense of freedom. And with the sense of freedom, you can go where you want, when you want. There's no compromise. There's no waiting on anyone else's schedule. You get to do it all yourself. If I was to be swayed by any of these for the pro side, this would be the one that would do the best at swaying me. because I'm a huge advocate of freedom. I can completely understand why anyone, not just a woman, why anyone would want to travel on their own for that freedom, to be able to do what you want to do legally, of course, but to be able to do what you want to do and to experience what you want to experience without having someone else come in and try to ruin it. Because let's say you're staying for 3 days at a place, and if you got someone with you, they might want to go do this, you might want to go do this, and you won't have time to do everything you want to do because the other person wants to do something else. So that kind of makes it a little hard. I can understand why freedom is so important. And then number 3, there's the connection. Ironically, traveling alone can lead to deeper friendship because you're more approachable, you're more likely to just say yes to spontaneous invites. You're more likely to just be like, yeah, this is going to be fun. You can go out and be friendly and meet new people. It'll teach you good communication skills, which is very important. So the connection side of things on the pro side is absolutely a beautiful and amazing thing that can teach women to be able to speak up for themselves and to be able to make new friends. And then finally, there's also the representation side. Women traveling alone sends a powerful message that the world belongs to them too. The world isn't just for men. It isn't just for women. It's for men and women. It's for all people to be able to explore. That would probably be the number 2 argument that could sway me for this side. I can understand that too. We're all one in humanity. We're all working together. This is a powerful message that lets women and the world see that they can travel. I've heard people say they've climbed Mount Everest alone and came back knowing that they could handle anything. And then I've heard people say that their parents were terrified, but after I came home, they saw how much I grew. That's what traveling can do. It can make you feel so strong, and it can make you feel so powerful, and it can make you grow. And that's why it's not just for men. Men are not the only people who need to grow. Women do too. And yeah, the stories are moving, and they're inspiring, and they're amazing. That's what makes traveling so fun, is that you get to grow and you get to be strong. And that's why they say that it's not just for men. However, with all that being said, there is also another side. Let's take a flight over to the other side. With side 2, the concerns and the criticisms, there are several. Here's what the critics of solo female travel are saying. The number 1, which is the one that would probably sway me the most on this side, is safety is a serious issue. The truth is, women are disproportionately victims of crime, especially in unfamiliar environments. Some areas are not safe, no matter how confident you are. There are places in the world that you can go that just are not safe, and you should not go there. Even if you are a man, I can understand the safety issues. I want to be able to protect my fiance. I want to be able to protect the women in my life that I care for, which the women on my fiance's family, the women in my own family. I want to be able to protect them. And if a woman goes somewhere that is unsafe and she's alone, how would she be able to contact someone to get help? Especially if she's in a country that's far away. How would she be able to do that? It would be extremely hard for a woman to be able to do that. So that's the number 1 issue. It's probably the issue that sways me the most. However, the number 2 issue is right up there as well, and that's the cultural misunderstandings. Because in some regions, a solo woman might attract unwanted attention or disrespect simply because it breaks norms. There are still countries in the world where it's not good for a woman to dress a certain way. It's not good for a woman to talk or men, but to dress or talk a certain way. And it's not good for a woman to be alone. And I know this is very true for a lot of Middle Eastern countries, I think. They do not like women presenting themselves in a certain way. And this does bring a lot of unwanted attention. And the unfortunate reality is that can tie back to the safety issue. If you're getting that attention, they're going to notice you, and the wrong person notices you, they can take advantage of you. The culture misunderstanding is right up there with safety, and they connect to each other very good, actually. So I can also understand why that side of the argument is presented, especially depending on the area or the country that you go to. Some countries are not as bad as other countries. Then there's the media glorification. Influencers rarely show the scary parts of where they go. They don't show navigating through the sketchy bus stations at night. They don't show being followed or the emotional toll of constant alertness. They don't show that. and I've talked about this in some of my videos too, that what you see is the finished product. It's what the influencer, it's what the traveler wants you to see. And the stuff that gets the views is the finished product. It's the thing, it's the videos that are presented to you in this happy, beautiful light. It's not always like that though, guys. It's not. Unfortunately, many influencers make it look like it is. This argument is saying that just because it looks nice doesn't mean that it always is. There are still a lot of dangerous places that influencers go to. There are still places where women could feel unsafe, places they shouldn't go. And it's just not shown on the videos because that is not what gets you views. I know, unless your niche is in that area, that's not what gets the views usually. This argument is basically saying, hey, don't trust everything you see online or on TV. And you shouldn't. You should question it. You should do your own research. I can understand this argument too. And there have been quotes from people who have talked about these types of problems. Like people have said, we don't warn men because men aren't at the same risk. Or, it's not anti-woman to say safety matters. It's pro-reality. I love that quote. I love that one because it is pro-reality, that it is dangerous. And I guess it makes sense that for men, it's not as dangerous, especially because women tend to, not be as strong. Women tend to be more targets for men who want to do bad things. That is just the sad reality of it. It doesn't mean that we like it. It doesn't mean we want it to be like that. That's just how it is right now. I would love for that to change. I would. But until it does, I understand why it's a problem. These people aren't saying don't travel. They're saying be careful what you promote without nuance. And honestly, it kind of hits hard. You got to be careful. So what has this helped me with? How has this helped me in my own life? There's several things I could talk about. Researching both sides kind of felt like visiting two completely different countries, if you think about it, especially when we talked about the differences in cultures and ideas and how cultures may view women. There's one side that's full of color and it has confidence and courage, and it encourages women to be like that. I completely agree with that. But then there's the other side that's full of caution and it's full of cultural nuance. And let's be honest, guys, can agree with that too. Both of those sides can be right. There isn't one that is wrong. Both sides make a lot of sense. Both of them are real and both have something to teach us. When you travel, you don't just look for things that match your expectations. You try local food. You learn customs. You ask questions. That's what I tell you guys all the time in my videos when I travel. You don't just go to all these little nice hot spots that everybody goes to. You actually want to go try and see what the culture is like. That's the point of traveling, is to experience those cultures and be able to talk to new people. That's the beauty of traveling. You learn so much and you grow so much. You meet so many new people. That's the absolute beauty of traveling. So why don't we do that when it comes to ideas? Why do we cancel a viewpoint before we even try to understand? Why would you do that? I think a great example in both the Philippines and in the USA right now is the political stuff. Especially in the USA, I have seen people fight each other so bad, families and friends, over political stuff, over the Donald Trump stuff, over Joe Biden, over Hillary Clinton, over Kamala Harris, over JD Vance, over this, over that, over immigration, over this big beautiful bill, all this other stuff. They're constantly fighting each other and they don't try to come together and talk, try to understand. Nobody does that. And it's tearing families and friends apart. It's terrible. You saw what I did. You saw what I did just now. I looked at both sides and we found that both sides have some really good points. You can understand where both sides are coming from. That's what we need to do. We need to have more of that. Here's the takeaway I want to share with you guys today. The goal of researching both sides isn't to weaken your own beliefs. It's to strengthen your understanding. Whether you're talking about politics, religion, feminism, or like today, travel. It's easy to build a worldview on memes and outrage. But real travelers, people like us, people who need to be curious, people who need to have empathy, we need to go deeper than that. We don't just stamp our passports. We stretch our mind. Imagine if every argument you saw online started with, I've spent a week studying both perspectives and here's what I found. I think we'd see so much less rage. We'd have more reason, less division, and more dialogue. That's what what the world needs right now. And guess what? You can start it with one Google search, one book, one conversation at a time. I've been guilty of it too. If you see my X account, you've seen I have posted memes, I have said things just to mess with people. I've been guilty of it too. We all are. We get into our head that this is the right way. We haven't even really studied what we think, much less what the other side thinks. We do or say things we shouldn't. The world needs more people who won't do that. They need more people to come together, talk, at least to understand each other. You may not end up agreeing afterward, and that's okay, but at least you understand where the person is coming from, and you don't have to worry about being so harsh with one another. All right, guys. So now I want to ask you, what's a hot topic you've always believed one way about, but never actually researched the other side, or maybe not even researched your own side? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to know. And who knows, I might even feature it in a future video. I always looking for good topics to talk about in a video. So drop it in the comment section and we'll see where it goes. Challenge yourself this week. Pick one topic. Read 3 articles you disagree with, not to change your mind, but to expand it. Try to do something like that. Another thing you can do, which helps enhance creativity, go on ChatGPT, type in, give me 3 good arguments for whatever topic. Let ChatGPT give you 3 good arguments for your side, the side you think. And what you have to do is come up with 3 good arguments against that side that you believe. Maybe find out what ChatGPT says, make arguments against that, and then put those prompts into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT something like, are these good rebuttals or are these good arguments that I made for this? It'll develop your creativity. It will also force you to see the other side of the story. It'll force you to have to understand what others are thinking and why they think it. That's just something I think would be good. And you know what? If you're traveling right now, or you're planning to, you're in the perfect position to test this mindset. Go to a local and ask them what they think about a controversial issue. Be careful. Be careful. I know in the Philippines right now, there are some things I would like to talk about, but I can't because I don't know where people stand. And most of it deals with what's going on with their president right now. So I have to be careful with that. And I will tell you to also be careful, especially depending on where you're at, because politics and religion are very hot button topics. So you have to be careful with that. And just listen without trying to debate, though. Don't try to debate them. Don't try to argue with them. Just try to understand them, and you'll see how much you can grow and you can learn to have empathy for people. Guys, if this video has helped you see things differently, even if it's just 1%, hit that like and subscribe button. I try to make new videos every single day, Monday through Friday, about travel and mental health and being Catholic. It all comes back to travel. I'm trying to make it so it all comes back to travel. It can be mental health. It can be about being Catholic. It can be like horror stuff. I like scary stuff, but it all somehow mixes in with travel. Until next time, guys, just remember, don't just travel the world, understand it. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. That's what real journeys are made of. Know that you guys are valuable and that you matter. God bless. Peace.